Americans against the corporate industrial complex, which in Hawaii was the big 4 plantation owners back in the day. And so it was because of those reasons, and looking at leaders like JFK.
So can I just ask you,
Yeah.
for people who aren't familiar with the history of the state, which is actually very interesting.
It is.
Completely different from the history of any other of the 49 states.
Yes.
It was almost like a feudal system
Yeah.
in Hawaii. Is that fair?
It was. It was. And going back, and this is where there was a big shift. And people in the political world ask all the time is like, why did Hawaii become such a strong Democrat state? It was because there were 4 major landowners that came in and essentially took the land from the local people, through the Queen in jail, and decided, okay, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start growing sugarcane. We're going to start growing pineapples. And they essentially installed themselves as the government of what was then the territory of Hawaii. And local people really didn't have a whole lot of say in it. But through that process, there were immigrants coming from Japan and from the Philippines, from Portugal, from places all over the world, seeking opportunity, getting work visas and work contracts to go and work in the fields. And these massive plantation owners essentially treated them like crap. Subhuman living conditions, abysmal pay, and essentially what we would call complete abuse in this day and age. But they got away with it because the people had no voice. When one group started to rise up and say, hey, we got to stick together and demand better living conditions and better pay. Let's say it was the Filipinos who did it. And they said, okay, well, fine. We're just going to have the Japanese workers come in and take over your fields and leave you with nothing. And so pitting one group against the other. So in Hawaii, it was the ILWU union primarily that came in and actually started to organize workers. And there was a couple of Democrat political leaders who had failed at the polls previously because they didn't have the votes. They came in and said, hey, look, we're going to fight for you. And they did. And that was when Hawaii shifted from Republican to Democrat control, because the Democrat Party at that time was the party of the people. Didn't matter where you were from, didn't matter your background, how much money you made or didn't made, your education or anything else. They were the party of the people, battling against the elite. And so the reason why this story is important is because you look at that legacy in my home state of Hawaii, and then you look at what's happening in our politics today, where unfortunately the Democrat Party and those in charge of it are now the party of the elite, who are way out of touch with the experience of everyday working people across this country. And it is unfortunate. It is unfortunate that that party has gotten so far away from its roots of being a party that celebrated freedom, its roots of being a party that fought for civil liberties, to one now where, with the Biden-Harris administration and the Democrat elite across Washington, are intentionally politicizing and weaponizing the tools of our own government and their friends in big tech and social media and their friends in the mainstream media to take away our freedoms, to take away our right to free speech, to violate our privacy and our civil liberties. They have become the party of war. In every respect, unfortunately, the Democrat Party has become a party that is undermining the very fabric of our country, of our freedom, of our Constitution, and the rule of law, which is why ultimately I left the Democratic Party, and it's why I am sounding the alarm bells as we head into this very critical election year about really what's at stake.
The reason that I know you're sincere is because you left the Democratic Party at exactly the moment that it solidified its position as the party of the rich.
Yeah.
And there's so many rewards that you can receive if you sign up. So I know a million people who've moved in the other direction, Joe Scarborough or Stuart Stevens or Steve Schmidt or all the guys from the Lincoln Project, Bill Kristol.
Right.
And they've all been rewarded for it a lot, because there's a lot of money to pass around if you do that. Mm-hmm. But you left at exactly the moment when you could have gotten kind of rich by staying and reading the talking points.
Yeah.